Hey everyone, and welcome. Today we're going to break down a condition called iron overload. And our goal is super simple, to make this whole topic clear, easy to understand, and show you how it can be managed really effectively. So let's just dive right in. We hear about iron all the time. It's essential, right? Our bodies absolutely need it to make hemoglobin, which is the protein that zips oxygen all around our blood. But what happens when you get too much of a good thing? That's the big question we're going to explore. And that question right there leads us to what's known as the iron paradox. It's this strange idea that a mineral that's totally vital for us to survive can actually become toxic when too much of it builds up. So how on earth does that happen? Well, to put it simply, iron overload is, it's exactly what it sounds like. Your body is holding on to way more iron than it needs or knows what to do with. A really great way to think about it is like this. Picture iron as the fuel for your body's engine. You need just the right amount to run smoothly, but if you pour in way too much fuel, the engine floods, it gets gummed up, and it causes damage. That's pretty much what happens to your organs with excess iron. Okay, so if our bodies are accumulating all this extra stuff, you've got to ask, where is it all coming from? See, our bodies don't really have a good way to get rid of extra iron, so it can build up through two main routes. Let's take a look. So you've got two main culprits here. On one side, there's hereditary hemochromatosis. This one's genetic. Basically, you inherit a specific gene, the HFE gene, from both your parents. And this gene kind of messes with your gut, telling it to absorb way too much iron from the food you eat. Then, on the other side, you've got transfusional iron overload. This isn't genetic at all. It's a direct side effect of getting a lot of blood transfusions for other conditions, like sickle cell disease. See, every bag of donated blood is packed with iron, and after, say, 10 or 20 transfusions, that iron really starts to pile up. All right, so we know where the iron comes from. Now let's talk about the what. What exactly does all this extra iron do once it's built up inside your body? The easiest way to wrap your head around the damage is to think about rust. Seriously, the process is called oxidation. Just like a piece of iron metal will rust and corrode when it's left out in the rain, that excess iron inside your body can essentially cause your internal organs to rust, leading to some pretty significant cell damage. It's like they're being corroded from the inside out. And that damage, it isn't just random. This excess iron has its favorite spots to settle down and cause trouble. The liver is almost always ground zero. It's the main storage unit. But from there, the heart, the pancreas, your joints, and even some glands are also really vulnerable. And we need to get specific here because this is exactly why catching this early is so important. In the liver, that rusting process causes inflammation, then scarring. That's called fibrosis. If you don't stop it, that scarring can get so bad it basically chokes the liver. That's cirrhosis, and it's life-threatening. In the heart, it's incredibly dangerous. It can lead to heart failure. And in the pancreas, it can just wipe out the cells that make insulin, which leads directly to diabetes. Okay, I know. After hearing all that, it's easy to feel a little worried. But here is the single most important thing to remember. This damage is not a sure thing. With early and consistent treatment, you can often stop it dead in its tracks. And sometimes, you can even reverse some of the damage. Which, of course, brings up the million-dollar question. How do you catch it early? Let's walk through how it's diagnosed, because it's often a lot more straightforward than you might think. It all starts with a couple of simple blood tests. Doctors are looking at two main things. First is serum ferritin. Think of this as your body's iron savings account. It's the stored up iron. A level over 1,000, that's a huge red flag. The second one is transferrin saturation. This one shows how much iron is just actively cruising around in your bloodstream. If that number is over 45%, it suggests there's just too much iron on the move. The great thing is, the path to a diagnosis is actually really logical. Step 1 is always those blood tests. If they come back high and doctors suspect the hereditary kind, step 2 is a genetic test to see if you have that HFE gene. Then, if they need to, step 3 might be an MRI, which is this fantastic, totally non-invasive way to literally see and measure how much iron is actually built up in your liver and your heart. So once you have that diagnosis, the game plan shifts immediately. It becomes all about taking action and getting the iron back under control. Let's look at the treatments, which are incredibly effective. The treatment is really tailored to why you have the overload. For the hereditary kind, the solution is surprisingly simple. It's called phlebotomy. Honestly, it's just like donating blood. By removing a pint of blood on a regular schedule, you're directly removing a ton of iron. Now, for the transfusional kind, the approach is different. It's called chelation therapy. This involves a medication, a pill or an infusion, that acts like an iron magnet. It grabs onto the excess iron so your body can finally get rid of it through your urine or stool. Now, I want to be clear. Diet alone is not going to fix this, but it plays a really important supporting role. The moves are pretty simple. Definitely stop taking any iron pills or multivitamins with iron. You'll want to limit high-dose vitamin C because that actually helps you absorb more iron. Avoid raw shellfish. Some nasty bacteria just love an iron-rich body. And maybe most important, limit alcohol to give your liver a much-needed break. And that brings us to our final and honestly my favorite section, because this is all about the fact that a diagnosis of iron overload is absolutely not a barrier to living a long, healthy, and really full life. So what's the end game here? What does success look like? Well, it's a really clear, measurable goal. It's all about getting that ferritin number, your iron storage, out of that danger zone of over 1,000 and down into a nice, safe range, usually somewhere below 50 or 100. And then the key is just keeping it there for the long haul. So here it is, your action plan. Number 1, being consistent with your treatment is everything. 2, do everything you can to protect your liver. That means limiting alcohol and getting your Hep A and B shots. And finally, and this one is huge, if your condition is genetic, you have this incredible power to protect your family. Telling your parents, your brothers and sisters, and your kids so that they can get a simple blood test, that is one of the most important things you can possibly do. And let's just end on this powerful thought. This isn't just wishful thinking. This is a medical fact. When iron overload is found and managed before it gets a chance to cause major organ damage, people can and do live a completely normal lifespan. Early detection is truly everything. So we'll just leave you with this one last thought. If any of this sounded familiar, if you have that family history we talked about, or you're someone who gets regular blood transfusions, just think about this. Could a simple test be the key to protecting your whole future? It's definitely a conversation worth having with your doctor. Thanks so much for joining us for this explainer.